starts right now.
So this case is such a mess that in the beginning, you don't even have a starting point. Except for Abraham Shakespeare winning the lottery.
I said, you won $30 million. Do not show this to anybody.
But everybody's there saying, give me, let me have.
Women with car full of kids would pull up and say, oh, the Lord led me to you. And I would be like, no, that would be Google Maps, honey.
One of the things that people talk about when they talk about winning the lottery is that it's cursed.
I really would like my old life back where I could walk the streets like a normal person.
But then all of a sudden, things go silent. And nobody knows where Abraham Shakespeare is.
Hey, have you heard from Abe? No, I haven't heard from him. Have you seen him? No, I haven't seen him either.
A lot of people says, well, I think he took his money and wants to get away from all this.
So how many people in Polk County owed Abe Shakespeare money?
Over 20, maybe close to 40.
There are all these people with this web of connections to Abraham Shakespeare, and any one of them might be someone who has a motive to see him dead. We all dream of a moment in life that will instantly change everything. A stroke of luck, and nothing will ever be the same again. That's exactly what happened to a man with the name you will never forget, Abraham Shakespeare.
While Abraham Shakespeare was on a trucking route with his colleague, Michael Ford, they stopped at a convenience store.
Mike Ford, who's the driver, says, you need anything? Abraham, who's staying in the truck, says, yeah, you know, give me 2 quick picks.
Right here at this gas station in a town with a name you just can't make up, Frostproof, Florida. 1 stop, 2 quick pick lottery tickets, one of which would change his life forever. A jackpot worth $30 million.
Hello, Florida. It's Wednesday, November 15th, and here are tonight's winning numbers. 12.
When Abe realized he'd won the lottery, he wasn't even sure it was real. So he brought the ticket to his cousin, Ashley McMillan.
I looked up at him, and I looked at the ticket again, and I looked up at him. I said, you won $30 million. He said, okay, I just wasn't sure. I needed somebody I could trust to tell me that. And I was like, do not show this to anybody else. You go to Tallahassee and cash this in immediately.
News of Abe's win quickly spread across the state of Florida.
It was at this convenience store that Abraham Shakespeare bought the lotto ticket that changed his life.
A Lakeland man is waking up a millionaire this morning. 40-year-old Abraham Shakespeare. He had the winning numbers, and Mr. Shakespeare, I'd like to give you my phone number.
Yeah. He opted to take home the lump sum of $17 million. But then after taxes, he ended up with $12 million.
Still, you know, $12 million is a huge chunk of change for a man with a pretty humble background who came from the central Florida town of Lakeland.
Lakeland is small town feel with a little bit of city in it, beautiful lakes, areas are quiet, some parts are rural, and it's in between Orlando and Tampa.
And here in Lakeland, Abe lived in a modest neighborhood where many folks struggled to make ends meet.
This is the famous Abraham Shakespeare's ex-home, where he rented and lived.
This is where they lived before.
This is where they lived before he won the lottery. It was set up just like this. Nothing's changed besides painting it.
Pretty modest place.
Pretty modest.
Abraham's life has been hard-scrabble for its duration. Abraham dropped out of school. He had been in a little bit of trouble as a youth, nothing major, just little petty theft kind of things. And as he grows older, he takes on a series of odd jobs. Riding the garbage truck for the city of Lakeland, sweeping up in somebody's barber shop.
Abraham had a strong friendship with Greg Smith, who owned the barber shop.
He was working at my barber shop as a cleanup guy, sweeping up and mopping floors. He was a less fortunate person, so let him work, get paid, or buy him something to eat. Abraham was an easygoing person. He took life just as it came.
What kind of guy was he?
He was a humble guy. Humble, respectful. You know, he wasn't a hard ass. He was a good dude. He didn't smoke, he didn't drink, he didn't do dope. He was just trying to survive, trying to make it in the world as most people do, but without being in the limelight of problems and trouble.
Even though he didn't have a whole lot, he was very content.
Abraham has all of this money. He can move anywhere he wants to, but instead, he stays home. He stays in Lakeland.
I think to a lot of people's surprise, Abraham did not go buck wild, as they say, when he got his money. He didn't overindulge.
Abraham says, I want to buy a car. So off me and Abraham went to the car dealership. Abraham walks up on this particular car and he liked it. And I'm like, yeah, Abraham, that's nice, but you know, it's a used car. Used or whatever, it was a gem to him.
He said he would go to Denny's to eat breakfast. He bought a Rolex watch from a pawn shop.
He come to the shop every day, millionaire, come to the shop, sweep the floor.
Yes.
You better not drop a penny on the floor. First thing he gonna say, he gonna pick it up, he gonna say, pennies make dollars.
Abraham doesn't spend much money on himself, but the one thing that he really wants is a new house. So he buys a 5,000 square foot, $1 million mansion.
Prior to winning the lottery, he would walk around this exclusive neighborhood and he would dream about living in one of those homes. He was able to buy his dream home for $1 million in the gated community.
And Abe quickly opened his doors to friends and even strangers. And one of those strangers was Centuria Butler, who was at the time down on her luck when she met Abe at a party he threw at his new house.
At the end of the night, he was like, where are you going? I was like, might be staying in my car tonight. He was like, well, you know, you can stay here until you get on your feet. He literally let me as a stranger move into his house.
A friendship blossomed. Centuria and Abe grew close, and eventually they welcomed a son named Jeremiah.
When the baby is out and they bring him over to the bed, Abraham with his long arms, he swoops in and he takes the baby right out of her hands. And he's holding him. And he's like, yeah, I got my snookum pookum.
But for Abe, it wasn't enough just to provide for his own family. Abe seemingly wanted to help everyone. And pretty soon, his generosity spread throughout Lakeland.
When Abraham won the lottery, all of Lakeland and Polk County won the lottery.
People did not hesitate to come to Abraham and say, you know, I need money for my mortgage. They're going to foreclose on my house. They're going to repossess my car. I've got to bury my mother. Everything you can think of that someone needed.
Now you're dealing with all kind of people you want to look out for and people you don't want to look out for, but everybody's there saying, give me, let me have.
Abraham wins this huge lottery, and then within a day, everyone wants a piece.
I couldn't even talk with him in 10 minutes. His phone was ringing. And by the time he get off the phone with that one, another one would call him.
There were days that random women with car full of kids would pull up and say, oh, the Lord led me to you. And I would be like, no, that would be Google Maps, honey.
It got tiresome to him. He got fed up with it a lot.
I really would like my old life back where I could walk the streets like a normal person, but got people coming up asking for money.
And Abe's fortunes might be about to take an even more serious turn for the worse.
His friend comes forward and says, hey, that's my ticket. All those multi-million dollars, they're mine.
Abraham Shakespeare was on the verge of losing his entire fortune.
When Abe Shakespeare moved into that gated community, he was stepping into his life of luxury as a recent lottery winner. But those gates still couldn't keep people out. Friends, neighbors, even strangers still visited, asking for a favor, a loan, or a handout.
I think it caused him more harm than good. I don't think he enjoyed that money.
It was like I wish I didn't even have no money. He was dead serious.
There's something called the lottery curse. Lottery winners go bankrupt. They are killed, robbed, kidnapped, and scammed till the end of days.
Most people work and struggle to get millions. When it's handed to you, it's an easy come, easy go. And you're open game. And if you're not prepared for it, you're screwed with it.
Abe tried to manage that flood of requests, turning some of those handouts into loans, but this was far from a perfect system.
One of the things that Abraham did was he set up a business venture in which he became the hood's bank.
But that also meant that he had to make arrangements with them for when they would pay back and how much they would pay back. This was becoming overwhelming.
Abe was giving out money faster than he could keep track of. And then things took an unexpected turn with that coworker on the trucking route, the guy who bought the winning lottery ticket for him, Mike Ford.
Suddenly, there's a lawsuit against Abraham filed by Mike Ford, who is claiming that Abraham stole the tickets.
I was able to immediately get in contact with him. He was upset because he thought that Michael Ford was a friend.
To defend himself, Abe brought in a high-profile attorney named Willie Gary.
Willie Gary is a force, very self-confident. Willie has a private jet. He drives around in Rolls Royces. He wears, of course, custom-made suits.
Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen.
Mike Ford's claim was that Abraham had gone into his wallet, had taken the lottery ticket. Abraham denies that he ever stole that ticket.
In response to the lawsuit, Abe alleged it was never about a stolen ticket. It was about a demand for $1 million.
Abe's claim was that Mike basically went to him saying, hey, I want $1 million. And Abraham said, I'm not giving you any money. And that's when Mike said, well, I'm going to sue you.
Ford has a different account. He says that when he asked Abraham about the ticket, Abe offered him $1 million, but later refused to pay, saying Ford couldn't prove the ticket was his.
Ford versus Shakespeare was a 5-day trial. Michael Ford did his best to present his case, but the jury only took an hour to find against him.
It was a battle over millions in that courthouse, but in the end, he got to keep all of his money. And then he met someone. He met someone who promised to help him, who promised to protect his fortune, to secure his future. Was Abe's luck finally turning around?
A woman named Doris Moore, they called her Dee Dee, Florida-born, very ambitious, pretty smart. She comes along.
In fall of 2008, Dee Dee goes to this small business conference where she meets the realtor who sold Abraham his $1 million mansion.
And she thought it would be cool to write a book about his life.
Dee Dee is introduced to Abraham, and he agrees to let her profile him.
She wanted to sit down and interview us for her book.
Dee Dee Moore seemed like she was a very professional woman. She was in a suit and heels and hose and everything, and said that she owned a company, American Medical Professionals.
Dee Dee Moore is a self-made businesswoman, a very successful businesswoman with a medical staffing company.
And the more time Dee Dee spent around Abe, the more involved she became, not just as an author, but also as an advisor.
She learns that he has all this money out there in the community. She said, you need a financial advisor. You need some financial help. I am an expert at that. The next thing you know, Dee Dee is Abraham Shakespeare's sidekick and his emissary who goes around to collect money.
She had her own money. She didn't need his money. And that became a trust factor for him.
He's like, you know, she has her own business. She, you know how to run things. She gonna help me with my LLCs.
Dee Dee wasn't just helping Abe with his money. She also started recording their conversations, capturing these behind-the-scene moments where, even with her help, he still appeared to be fed up.
Do you get tired of people asking you for money all the time, Abe? Give me your opinion on it.
I've been tired. A year ago.
All of a sudden, things go silent, and nobody knows where Abraham Shakespeare is.
None of his children had heard from him. His mother hadn't heard from him. Nobody had heard from him.
And just like that, Abraham Shakespeare disappeared. No calls, no goodbyes, not a word to the people he loved. It was like he vanished into thin air. Abraham Shakespeare seems determined to shake that lottery curse, especially after his generosity cost him almost all of his jackpot millions. Now he's fighting to get his finances back under control.
Everything was well, and then it got quiet all of a sudden.
In April of 2009, there's a stir going on in the community about nobody having seen Abraham Shakespeare in a while. There's a little buzz at first, and then it gets louder and louder and louder and becomes a thing.
People start to talk, hey, have you heard from Abe? No, I haven't heard from him. Have you seen him? No, I haven't seen him either. And that kind of started to snowball when everybody started to realize, you know, I haven't heard from him either.
And so at what point did you notice that Abe might have gone missing?
When I would call, he would always answer me or respond back. And when I didn't get that, then it began to make, somewhat of a red flag.
There was this widespread speculation around Lakeland that Abe finally just got fed up with all these people thinking that he should share his fortune with everyone. And as a result, he decided to skip town.
It was common knowledge that Abraham said that he got tired of people asking him for money.
I really would like my old life back where I could walk the streets like a normal person.
When nobody's seen him, for the first couple months, we were like, okay, you know, he did say that he was going to go away for a while and just let things, you know, kind of die down and chill, and then he was going to come back.
And friends say Abe had a very good reason not to skip town for good. Even though Abe and Centauria at this point were no longer living together, Centauria says Abe was still a devoted father to their son Jeremiah.
He was just like so excited about being a father, and he would take a picture every day.
Finally, in November of 2009, almost 6 months since Abe disappeared, Abe's cousin, Cedric Edom, decides to file a missing persons report at the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
Abraham's cousin, Cedric Edom, reported him missing to our missing persons unit, and that's where the whole investigation started.
But the investigation gets off to a slow start. Lots of people are still convinced that there's an innocent explanation for Abe's disappearance.
A lot of people said, well, I mean, I don't think he's missing. I think he took his money and wants to get away from all this.
One of Abe's friends, Judy Hagans, even told the police Abe had mentioned leaving the country.
Did he ever discuss any intricate plans with you that, hey, I'm going to disappear and nobody's ever going to see me again?
Yeah,
and
he did.
What was that about? Tell me.
He really wanted to move to Jamaica.
Still, there was an aspect of Abe's disappearance that puzzled some of his friends and family members. All of a sudden, they started receiving these random text messages from him.
All of these people that Abraham would normally just pick up a phone and talk to or stop by to see were getting text messages.
So at this point, there are a bunch of people coming out of the woodwork who are saying that they've heard from Abe.
Right.
I got a text at one point.
And what did that text say?
He was out and just didn't want to be bothered.
And the mother of his child?
Centauria, She received a text message saying he was going on vacation and leaving her for another woman.
I'm texting Abraham, and I'm getting texts back, oh, I'm leaving you for this woman, and we're going to the Bahamas.
I got a reply from his number. And the reply was, I don't need nobody filing no missing persons report on me. I'm fine.
But Ashley and others close to Abe say they had some serious doubts about whether he was actually the person sending those texts, even though they were coming from his phone.
I knew that wasn't my cousin. This is not Abraham texting me.
There's no way that he could have constructed those text messages because Abraham Shakespeare could barely read and write. In fact, his cousin, Ashley McMillan, used to read him the greeting cards here at this Walgreens where she used to work.
Before he won the lottery, he was always buying Hallmark cards. He was like, hey, can you come read this card to me? I need something that conveys like empathy or sympathy. I asked him one time, I was like, why can't you just read the card? And he looked at me dead square in the face and was like, I cannot read.
It was so suspicious as people were getting text messages because he couldn't read or write. And if it wasn't Abraham, who were the text messages coming from?
That was one of the biggest hurdles we had in the beginning of the case, was nailing down when the last time not only was Abraham seen,
right,
but when someone physically and actually talked to him on the phone.
So this case is such a mess that in the beginning, you don't even have a starting point.
Every time we would talk to someone, they had heard something different. It just seemed like every story was leading back to Dee Dee Moore. And so we're just like, okay, we've got to talk to Dee Dee Moore because this lady Dee Dee is associated to every story that we're being told.
For Abe's friends and family, it makes sense that if anyone knows where he is, it would be Dee Dee. I mean, after all, she has been working closely with him to get his finances in order.
As their friendship began to blossom, Abraham and Dee Dee Moore hung out quite a bit. She became a major asset to him by helping Abraham collect on money that was owed to him.
Everybody was very uncertain. Dee Dee had an answer.
When police interviewed Dee Dee about Abraham's whereabouts, she says nothing's wrong. In fact, I'm in constant contact with him.
Her statement was that she talks to him all the time. If we wanted to see him, she would make sure that she brought him to us. So she sends him a text message in front of us and it's like, Abraham, call me, please call me. We wait a little bit and nothing. And she's like, well, I'll call you in the morning as soon as we hear from him. We'll set up a meeting. So we left.
Although Dee Dee can't actually connect police with Abe on the phone, she is able to show them that video that she'd taken of Abe where he says he wants to skip town.
So where do you want to go to?
It don't matter to me. I'm not a picky person.
Are you going to miss your home?
Yep, I miss it, but life goes on.
Weeks go by and there's no word from him, and suspicion begins to mount. But then this startling development. Out of the blue, Abe's mother, Elizabeth Walker, is having dinner at a Cracker Barrel and
Elizabeth's phone rings. And she opens her phone and sees it's Abraham calling. And she said, oh my God, it's Abraham.
Abraham Shakespeare is reported missing on November 9th. Most of his friends and family say they have not seen him or heard his voice since April. Is there a chance at this point in the investigation that Abe Shakespeare might just turn up somewhere?
I think we thought that was a real true possibility. Once we put him in the national database as missing, we got calls from all over the United States, and some of them with super confidence that it was Abraham. It wasn't him, but we had to deal with a lot of that.
With all of these empty leads, investigators are now looking at other angles.
So there's a whole pool of potential individuals that you could look at with some sort of motive if his disappearance did, result in foul play.
We certainly hope Abraham's alive and well, and he has successfully hidden himself away. But our investigation doesn't lead us to believe that at this time.
At this point, detectives are not only concerned that lottery winner Abe Shakespeare might be missing, they're concerned he might be dead. So how many people in Polk County owed Abe Shakespeare money?
Over 20, maybe close to 40.
And so some of them would probably not be so upset if he never appeared again.
That was the problem, is that there was a lot of people that owed him money.
But investigators are particularly interested in a man who had claimed that Abe owed him something.
Presiding, please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you have a cell phone.
Michael Ford lost a lawsuit to him, claimed that the winning lottery ticket was his, went all the way to a trial. He's probably pissed off.
$30 million of upset.
Michael, we're up here talking to you about Abraham Shakespeare. How do you know that name?
Because I went to trial with him for a lotto ticket.
Okay.
And at no time did you see Abraham Shakespeare while you were in Florida? And just for the record, you didn't in any way harm, hurt, or cause Mr. Shakespeare to be missing at this time, did you?
No, sir.
We actually pulled his phone records to confirm that where he was, and he was in Georgia. I mean, we looked at him that hard, but it was more of an elimination thing.
Well, detectives have a long list of possible suspects to go through. Marissa Green at the Ledger in Lakeland is focused on one person, Dee Dee Moore.
I felt like I had a vested interest in finding Abraham Shakespeare, just like the detectives. A couple of weeks before it was officially announced that Abraham Shakespeare was missing, I met Dee Dee Moore over the phone for the first time. She promised that she could produce him and I could interview him, but that never happened, and it went silent. And so that's when my red flag started to raise about this woman and who she was.
Then in December 2009, Marissa is able to convince Dee Dee to come down to the Ledger newsroom for an interview with her and her editor, Lyle McBride. Dee Dee tells them that at the time Abe disappeared, most of his lottery jackpot was long gone.
And he didn't have any money left, really.
Right, except for what he was collecting, the regular little loans. The few that were paying him back, that's what he was living off of, because everything else was froze. Because all his other money was tied up.
She said everybody else was taking advantage of him, but not her, because she had her own money.
That's the kind of person I am. If you've asked my family and my friends, I've been that way my whole life. I always helped people.
During that 3-hour interview, Dee Dee now tells a different story. Now, she insists that Abe left town to avoid having to pay money in the child support fight he is supposedly having with the mother of his son, Centoria Butler.
And so he was very upset and adamant that he would rather spend 179 days in prison, if they find him, than to pay her anything.
There was never a plan to go to court to get child support. I never attempted to go to court to get child support. That was the end of the story.
So during the interview, we played good cop, bad cop, and I was the bad cop. I was the one asking the hard questions of Dee Dee Moore.
Where is Abraham? Well, Abraham knows he was supposed to go for contempt of child support, okay? And
that's the question I asked. Where is Abraham?
I do not know. And I told the cops this. I do not know his address. I didn't want to know because of the fact that we knew he would have a warrant out for his arrest.
That interview with Dee Dee Moore at the Ledger, it ends without any new information regarding Abe's whereabouts. But then a month and a half after he was reported missing, there's a surprising turn of events involving Abe's mother, Elizabeth Walker.
Dee Dee befriended her. And they're having dinner together one night. The phone rings, and it's Abraham. Hi, Mom, I love you. "Oh, baby, I miss you. Where are you? I can't hear you. It's so loud. I can't really hear you, but I'll be home soon. I love you. I love you too." And that's the end of the call. Dee Dee says, "Oh my God, you know, he called you. See, he's okay." And Miss Walker appears to be relieved, but not quite sure, because Abraham sounded different.
Abe's mom is suspicious.
She was suspicious, didn't think it sounded like her son, but in the back of her mind, maybe he really does have a cold, maybe he's really sick.
Turns out the police are able to trace that phone call, and it leads them not to Abraham Shakespeare, alive and well, but to a very different person.
We had that 30-day location tracker on the phone, so we pulled it up, and it's at the Lakeland Mall.
Will that phone call help cops unravel the mystery of what really happened to Abe Shakespeare? Three weeks after Abe Shakespeare's disappearance is reported to police, the full attention of investigators is now on Dee Dee Moore. She was supposed to have been his financial savior, but they've discovered that she has taken over his lottery fortune. What did you see when you looked into his finances?
Abraham didn't have access to a penny of his money. Dee Dee had not only taken over all of his banking accounts, she had transferred money out of the banking accounts.
Dee Dee tells Abraham that for his benefit, he needs to sign over his assets, and so that she can have control of those assets. That's the way she can protect him from anybody coming after him for any money.
She was now living in his house. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what would make her want to live in this man's house?
Once we were going deep into the investigation, we tried to find out everything we could about Dee Dee, and we found out, you know, she wasn't who she portrayed herself to be.
Dee Dee Moore's got a checkered past. She's been in trouble with the law before. She's no angel.
After graduating from Plant City High School in Florida, Dee Dee was eventually able to start up that medical staffing company. But she had her share of run-ins with the law, a no-contest plea for petty theft in 1999, and a guilty plea for check fraud back in 2002. There was also one incident where she falsely claimed she was carjacked after falling behind on her vehicle payments.
So she drives the SUV down a dark country road one night, and two Latino men, this is her story, hijack her SUV, tie her up, rape her, beat her, and throw her on the side of the road, and take off with the SUV. Long story short, she had hired these guys to take the car and hide the vehicle from everybody.
Dee Dee was convicted of insurance fraud. And that background raises a lot of eyebrows among detectives investigating Abe Shakespeare's disappearance.
She definitely has the ability to manipulate, to lie, to concoct stories, and so forth, yeah.
We were really convinced that Dee Dee definitely had more information, and we wanted to push some buttons with Dee Dee.
So police pressed Dee Dee for answers about how she's taken over Abe's finances.
You are in essence Abraham, correct?
Yes.
But my point in all of this is all of these people plus all of the real estate comes up to how much?
But you've got to
No, comes up to how much, Dee Dee?
I don't know.
Comes up to how much? So, okay, so I've done the rough math, okay? It comes up to almost $3.5 million.
Okay, if I'm guilty of anything, I'm guilty of helping him avoid child support.
I'm not worried about any of that.
Investigators may have their suspicions about Dee Dee, but what they don't have is any hard evidence tying her to Abe's disappearance. Meanwhile, Dee Dee turns to the media to plead her side of the story.
Because of these people.
Are you talking about your meeting with the cops?
Yeah,
Because of these people, my life has been turned up in the last 2 weeks. All my house has been looked over twice. They've looked through all my papers. They took my computers and downloaded their hard drive. I want this out of my life. And I feel sorry for Abraham. But it has hardened my heart. I don't know if I'll ever help anybody out anymore.
Then 8.5 months after Abe's disappearance and just a couple of days after Christmas, there's a development that sends this case in a dramatic new direction.
The thing that really turns the case was when Elizabeth Walker got that call from her long missing son. Dee Dee Moore was at dinner with Elizabeth Walker when Abraham called.
Abraham's mother called me, and she's like, Detective Clark, Abraham called me and told me Merry Christmas and that he's okay. But she said, it didn't really sound like my son. And I said, what number did that call come from? And she's like, it said private.
It didn't take long for them to look at phone records.
Investigators quickly learned two very critical pieces of information. First, that number is not Abraham Shakespeare's. Second, someone with that phone itself is located very close by, a local mall. So they rush to that local mall to figure out who it is. And incredibly, at almost the same moment they drive in, so does Dee Dee Moore.
And then in drives Dee Dee. It's like a gift from God dropped to us. Crazy. We watch her get out, meet with this guy, hand him a wad of cash.
And this was just, stinking the high heavens.
They talk for a minute, she gets in her car, and she drives away to the north, and this car with this gentleman in it drives away to the south. So we get behind the car, we're following it, and we're like, let's stop it. We go to stop the car. So I just jump out, I go to the guy and I go, you can either park your car, get in our car and come with us, or we're gonna try to put you in prison the rest of your life. And he goes, well, I guess I'm coming with you.
The man in the car, the man who got the cash from Dee Dee and who owns the phone that made the call to Abe's mom, he is none other than the friend of Abe's who ran the local barber shop, Greg Smith.
Do you know Dee Dee Moore? That's what they asked me. Now I'm thinking to myself, Lord Jesus, what is going on? Did you make a phone call to Abraham's mother? I said, yeah. Well, I make the phone call to his mother, pertaining to be Abraham. I'm supposed to mimic his voice and the way he talked best I can and tell his mom that I'm okay.
Said she's gonna pay me $350. I didn't feel right about it, but I thought I was helping Miss Walker feel better because she's been worried about her son. Greg told them then, I think that Abraham is dead. They said, we think so too. And they said, we need you to keep meeting with Dee Dee because we think she has something to do with this. And we need you to work for us.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, when I needed this man stepped in and helped me.
And the reality of what's at stake sinks in for Greg Smith.
The light click on, okay, she actually is under investigation for killing Abraham Shakespeare. I was like, I'll do what I can.
And so begins an elaborate plot to take down Dee Dee Moore and prove her involvement in Abraham Shakespeare's disappearance. Now, this is going to involve not only an undercover sting, a can of Red Bull, but also a discovery made right in this yard. For Abraham Shakespeare, the good news is you've won the lottery. That's also the bad news.
As of this time, we don't know the whereabouts of Abraham Shakespeare.
Detectives are not only concerned that Abe Shakespeare might be missing, they're concerned he might be dead.
We've got to talk to Dee Dee Moore because everybody is bringing her name up. Whatever story they had, everything just kept circling back.
They're saying that I took a gun and killed another human being.
what they need. They need the evidence.
But I guarantee you, Ronald has killed him.
We're like, Ronald? We've never heard of a Ronald.
She kept saying, Ronald killed him. Ronald shot him.
Why are you laughing?
Because
A man is dead. He's been murdered.
I liked Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. There are so many things that proves my innocence.
Do you understand how listening to you is bewildering?
Well, do you understand how listening to you is just, it sounds like a bunch of stupidity?
Hello, Florida. It's Wednesday, November 15th. And here are tonight's winning numbers.
Abraham Shakespeare won $31 million in the Florida lottery, going from rags to riches.
But as happens to so many lottery winners, Abe is besieged by people asking him for some of that cash.
I really would like my old life back where I could walk the streets like a normal person, but got people coming up asking for money.
Everybody feels that's their opportunity to get paid.
But then he suddenly disappears.
But no one has seen Shakespeare, including his mother, who's beginning to think the lotto prize may have been a curse.
Yeah, I'm just hoping to hear something.
There is contact. Family and friends receive text messages from Abraham. In fact, his own mother gets a phone call from Abraham.
I answered the phone. I said, hello?
Upon further investigation, detectives learned that the voice was Greg Smith, the owner of the barbershop where Abraham would work.
I was like, Mom, how you doing? This Abraham.
Greg claims he faked that call at the request of a woman named Dee Dee Moore, who was helping Abe with his finances, and the police start investigating her.
Despite running a legitimate business, Dee Dee Moore has a checkered past. She's been in trouble with the law before.
Greg decides he does not want to go to jail, so he helps investigators with their case. And one way that he does it is by becoming a confidential informant.
I didn't set a plan out to go catch up. I just told him I'd see what I could do.
I'm getting ready to talk to Dee Dee. She's getting in the car now.
When I interviewed Greg Smith back in 2012, he showed me how he secretly recorded conversations with her using something he called a catch can, which he invented himself.
It's a Red Bull can.
Look at that thing. I wouldn't figure out how it opens even.
It actually separates in between.
Oh yeah? Wow. That's brilliant.
That's the Dee Dee Moore catch can.
I worked undercover narcotics for 8 years, and I wouldn't have came up with this. Almost all of the meetings were in a car. Here it is sitting in front of her. She doesn't even know it's there.
Well, they'll never know about you anyway. I never give you up. You know what I'm saying?
Ever.
Man, listen, I'm so deep in it with you right now. If you go down, I go down right now.
Yeah.
It was ingenious, but he even took it a step further. He would be smoking small cigars as they talked so that she wouldn't get suspicious. He would make it a point to flick ashes on or into the can as they were talking.
Pretty simple trick, but it worked good, and it gave us a good recording of the car.
I just need some time to get freaking Abraham back.
Dee Dee is recorded telling Greg that Abe is alive. After she had asked Greg to make that fake call to Abe's mom, Dee Dee now asks him to call someone else to continue spreading the news that Abe is okay.
Should I say that he talked to his mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's gonna make it more convincing.
But he told her if she tells anybody, he'll never call back. Okay. You make sure you say that.
That sounds a little bit more convincing.
Say that if she tells anybody, Abraham told her he would never call back.
What's up, Dee Dee?
Greg later reports back to her that the call went well.
You tell him, yeah, he's still living.
I said, yeah, he's still living. I said, if anybody want to know if he's still living, yeah, he's still living.
At one point, the investigation moves to a local hotel where Dee Dee Moore and Greg Smith meet.
So Dee Dee and Greg go to the hotel to follow up that fake phone call with a fake letter?
Yes, they did.
These rooms is expensive.
We're listening as they're in the hotel.
That's not the same laptop you had. You went and bought that today?
Here comes a brand new laptop and a brand new printer. But she is very paranoid now about leaving any traces that can be taken back to her.
So she's dressed in full hospital gown, gloves, face mask, hair, so that while she's typing, that none of her DNA gets on the paper or gets on the envelope or anything.
She is determined. You will not find any Dee Dee Moore DNA here.
Chocolate, I don't want you to show this letter to the cops. I just want you to tell them that it was me.
They spent about 2 hours composing this letter to Abe's mother, with Greg offering suggestions to Dee Dee about how Abe would actually talk.
And we're down there laughing because Greg's like, no, maybe you should say bro instead of brother.
If I had to take this letter here, and I had to read this letter, and I had to understand this letter, the letter is convincing to me. It couldn't have came from you.
How do you do it to anybody, but how do you do it to a 70-plus-year-old woman who hasn't seen her son in months? I mean, devious, manipulative, evil.
He puts it in the mailbox, he leaves, I take the letter out of the mailbox and put it in evidence.
Remember, those close to Abe knew that he could barely read or write. I mean, this is a copy of the letter.
Yeah.
And for a guy who, even though his name was Shakespeare, I mean,
right,
he didn't write. This is like 6 or 7 pages.
Exactly.
I only wrote you just in case you really worried, just in case you can't keep this to yourself and you're really worried about me. Here's a Christmas present to you.
The letter is more like a treatise about everything that Abraham would be trying to explain to his mother about why he went away and what hassle he went through once he got all the money, and how sometimes he wishes he didn't have all this money, but that he's doing okay and he's trying to stay away and get his life together. I mean, it went on and on and on for pages.
But what Dee Dee Moore does next will remove all doubt. Abraham Shakespeare is not okay at all.
With a body, I can do a plea deal with him.
What do you want?
50 grand.
If you do this, you're going to be a very popular person. You're going to be a legend.
By this point, all of the law enforcement officers' instincts are firing on code red. They feel that Dee Dee Moore knew what happened to Abraham Shakespeare. What they need the evidence.
So at one point, you ask the sheriff to hold a press conference.
As of this time, we don't know the whereabouts of Abraham Shakespeare.
And at that point, the sheriff says, hey, we think that Abe Shakespeare may have been met with foul play.
We suspect that he's met an untimely death.
He also names Dee Dee Moore as a person of interest.
I must tell you, folks, that certainly it is fair to call Dee Dee Moore a person of interest.
After that press conference, I believe she felt the walls closing in on her.
So immediately she calls Greg Smith. We've got to do something. Did you see what Sheriff Judd's saying about me?
And that's when the next phase of the case begins, convincing Dee Dee that if Abe is actually dead, to admit what really happened.
They come up with this idea that they will get a fall guy who will say, you know, I'll take the blame and say that I killed Abraham Shakespeare.
We call a guy named Mike Smith. I mean, he's just a very large, intimidating fella, and one of the best undercover guys I've ever worked with.
And his last name happened to be Smith, the same as Greg Smith, and they pretended to be cousins.
So we tell Greg, we just want you to tell her that you have a cousin that's going to prison. If there happens to be something wrong with Abe, I bet for the right amount of money, he'll take a murder rap.
And I said, I know somebody. I got a cousin finna do 25 years that'll take that rap. Yeah, I got somebody.
Here's the deal. I went and talked to him. He said, okay, I'll do this.
When can I talk to him?
She reacted way more than we expected. She immediately says, I want to meet him. I want to meet him as soon as possible.
So soon after, they arrange a face-to-face meeting in another parking lot in Lakeland.
I pulled in right about this area here.
Okay.
And parked. She comes over, he jumps in the back seat, she jumps in the front.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, this is my baby right here. You gotta take care of her, buddy.
He introduces us. We talk, small talk, briefly for a couple minutes.
Who does she think that you are at this point?
At that point, Greg had sold a story to her that I was a drug dealer. I was just a drug dealer. He knew I was just drug dealer. They got busted by the feds that was going away, that was willing to take the rap.
Yeah, I'm in over my head. I've never been through nothing like this in my life.
The meeting is taking place in a undercover vehicle that we had equipped with listening devices and recording devices.
And what was Dee Dee's demeanor like in the car? Was she twitchy? Do you think
she was all chipper, just normal. I believe the question was, why would you take the rap?
Why would you do that, though, for me?
I'm going anyhow. I'm going anyhow.
Well, I can tell you, if you do this, you're going to be a very popular person. You're gonna be a legend, and probably on the Oprah show.
When I told her, I said, I got busted by the feds, man. I'm gonna go do 25 years. I need the money to leave to my baby mama so she can take care of my child.
What do you want?
50 grand.
Okay. Can I do it in payments? Because I don't have that kind of cash. I'm gonna have to sell something.
I'm gonna need 10 up front. Once I do this, make sure my boy get the money.
Okay.
But that's not enough. You feel like you need more out of her.
I felt like I needed more out of her. I felt like we needed a body. Like I said, I'm gonna need a body. Probably can get a plea deal with them because they definitely gonna want the body.
Okay.
And then Mike tells her, wherever the body is, I want to move it because if I'm going to confess to this, I'm going to make it my own. And she brings up, there's a guy named Ronald, a drug dealer.
If you take the rap, he is not going to show up. And I guarantee you, Ronald has killed him. I just know it.
We're like, Ronald? We've never heard of a Ronald.
And Ronald's the one he owed the money to?
Yeah, they were doing a drug deal. No, I think Ronald killed him for the money Abraham had on him. Abraham had a ton of cash on him, like the tune of $800,000.
This is a huge development. Whoever Ronald is, Dee Dee has just admitted for the first time that she knows that Abe is dead.
That's the biggest moment of the case. That's where we know 100% he's dead. I mean, for us, couldn't have been a bigger moment than that right there.
She kept saying, Ronald killed him. Ronald shot him. I said, well, where's the body, Dee Dee? You get with Ronald, ask him, Ronald can tell us body at. That way when I plea deal with, I can tell them the body is right here and they will dig him up.
Okay.
And they'll have a body.
Okay.
Get with Ronald, find we need to know.
Okay.
I'll back up my boy.
Okay. I'll do it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
It was nice meeting you.
The next morning, Dee Dee calls Greg and says, we need to meet and make it quick.
Dee Dee wants Mike Smith to be able to confess as soon as possible so that the investigators will stop looking at her.
I think that they're watching all the properties and all the friends' properties I have.
He goes and meets Dee Dee, and Dee Dee hands him a towel. There's something wrapped in the towel, and she tells him, this is the gun that was used to kill Abraham.
We're going to grind Then we put his handprints on it, and we'll put it somewhere.
So she handed over her gun to you.
Exactly.
She trusted you that much that she handed you the murder weapon.
Exactly.
She asked him to meet him back at the same spot later in the night. She would show him exactly where the body was.
This is the perfect time.
Plant City.
We'll call me in Plant City.
Yeah.
All right.
We set it up for her to take me to the body now.
Just like I figured, the body's still on that property. We're moving the body tonight.
Dee Dee thinks that once Greg and his cousin dig up the body, she's going to be home free. But she has no idea what is actually about to happen next. Not long after Dee Dee meets with the man who she believes will take the rap for killing Abe Shakespeare, she's driving along this road with Greg Smith, heading to a property she owns on the outskirts of Lakeland.
So Highway 60, it's considered a rural area of Hillsborough County. There's a lot of tomato fields, strawberry farms, and so forth.
You feel like you're in the country. Dee Dee's property has 2 ranch-style houses that are several yards apart.
They parked over at this house. We were just kind of on the side of the road with our lights off. She walks Greg right here. There was a 30-foot by 30-foot concrete slab.
Concrete slab in the middle of a field.
Yeah. She takes a piece of angle iron and sticks it in the corner of the slab and sticks it down in there and says, dig. Abraham's body's right there.
It's right here. It'll be 9 foot. It'll be 9 foot deep.
And you're listening to this. You guys must be just going nuts at this point.
I think once we heard that, we both look at each other and go, wow, let's just hope this isn't another Dee Dee spin or scam on things.
We didn't know if we actually had the body down there or not.
As authorities begin this arduous work to uncover what's below ground, they simultaneously set up their next tactic for Dee Dee. A few hours later, investigators have Greg call her again. He says, there's a big problem. When we went to dig up the body, the place was swarming with cops. Dee Dee's response? Meet me at the mall.
Greg and Dee Dee then meet when all of a sudden, boom, the cops pull up. They jump out and they bust Greg.
I'm sure she's thinking that we're arresting Greg for the murder of Abraham. So she's composed and says she wants to come back and talk to us and let us know some things.
Okay, so you get her in here. That's you.
That's me.
Okay, who is this guy?
Gregory Smith.
Gregory Smith.
That's who I know him as.
Okay.
Abraham introduced me to him.
She first says, hey, I'm glad y'all got that guy Greg. I think that he's done something to Abraham.
Find out what he knows, because he knows where Abraham's at.
And so I let her go on for a few minutes, and I said, look, Dee Dee, I got some bad news for you.
I think you know where I'm going with this, Dee Dee. The gig is up. Okay? The gig is up. Listen, everything that you've told him, everything you've done, everything is recorded, Dee Dee. Everything is recorded.
Finally see her demeanor change. She rests her head on her hand.
We talk to him 10 times a day. We know every move you made. We know everything.
Dee Dee Moore is caught pretty much red-handed.
I want a deal, and I won't give you the person's name.
Dee Dee at various times blamed everybody under the sun for killing Abraham.
He gave me the name of the person that did it.
And here she goes into the whole Ronald, some random drug dealing guy.
I honestly don't know the guy's name. I know him by Ronald.
So it's Greg Smith, it's Ronald, it's Mike Smith, the undercover.
The undercover, it's her son, it's Cedric Edom.
Everybody else.
Crazy, crazy.
Police say there is zero evidence that any of those people were actually involved.
Dee Dee, you've said so many things you can't even keep your head straight.
Okay, well,
listen. Who shot Abraham?
You know who shot him.
No. Who shot Abraham?
You know who shot him.
Authorities allow her to leave because without a body, they didn't have a case to arrest her.
Meantime, back at Dee Dee's property in Plant City, a team has assembled to attempt to find the evidence they need to actually arrest her.
We're talking probably 30, maybe 40 folks. This is definitely not a run-of-the-mill scene. The concrete slab was like a 900 square foot tombstone.
We've got a 30 by 30, 9-inch thick concrete slab that we've got to bust up.
On day one, there was nothing found. They kept digging, and digging.
This is a painstaking task. This is 2 inches at a time, sifting through everything.
This was almost an archaeological dig here.
It was. I mean, every quadrant, everything, just so we didn't miss anything.
And at a point, once we hit about 9 feet, we started to uncover what appeared to be human remains.
You were able to look at this corpse, and you knew it was Abraham.
You didn't need
I
DNA?
didn't need fingerprints. I didn't need DNA. I mean, of course we did that, but I looked, and there's Abraham.
Investigators from Polk and Hillsborough counties announced a discovery tonight.
We have recovered human remains.
The media was doing a stakeout to try to get reaction from Dee Dee. And she drives by in a truck, rolls her window down.
I'm only coming out because the media will not leave.
And it develops into kind of an impromptu news conference.
They're saying that I took a gun, put it up, and killed another human being, and I would never, ever do that.
But the very next day...
Hey, Dee Dee, they're calling you a murderer. Are you a murderer? No.
Doris Dee Dee Moore denied any involvement in Abraham Shakespeare's murder as she was led into a deputy's car tonight.
It was shocking. Here's someone who was supposed to be helping this guy with his money, and now she's the one charged with his murder.
By the time we presented to the grand jury, she had provided the murder weapon, the body's behind one of her houses.
It's at about $1 million.
Dee Dee Moore was indicted for first-degree murder, premeditated murder of Abraham Shakespeare.
Dee Dee pleads not guilty, and when her trial starts...
As the now dark-dressed and dressed in yellow defendant took copious notes, lawyers from both sides made their opening arguments to the jury of 8 men and 4 women.
There's one big question. Will a jury believe her defense that she was actually a victim herself of the person she claims killed Abe? Six years after Abraham Shakespeare won the Florida lottery, 3.5 years after he disappeared, the murder trial of Dee Dee Moore is set to begin in this courthouse in Tampa.
State of Florida versus Doris Donegan Moore.
This has been a full day packed with the opening statements this morning and then the testimony this afternoon in what promises to be a full of drama trial.
The public's interest in this case was incredible.
Prosecutors claim Dee Dee Moore swindled.
Journalists are always looking for something that is unprecedented.
Of Dee Dee's diabolical scheme to steal from, then kill lotto winner Abraham Shakespeare.
Or unusual, conflict, scandal. And this had pretty much all of the elements.
An anaphylactic shock.
Of course, Dee Dee's behavior in the courtroom also helped keep the story going.
Another day, another outburst.
We're not going to go back and forth. You need to compose yourself.
The prosecution is out to convince the jury that Dee Dee meticulously planned Abe's murder.
She conducted a sophisticated campaign to conceal his death by making up stories, by sending text messages.
Prosecutors show the jury video that Dee Dee took of Abraham in the mansion, and it's really the last piece of video of Abraham alive.
Are you going to miss your home?
Yep, I miss it, but life goes on.
She's setting up her alibi. She was setting up her story. She knew that Abraham was confronting her about the lack of funds and the ability to access his money and so forth. And it came to a point where, in Dee Dee's mind, she's going to have to do something about this.
Prosecutors believe right after that recording, Dee Dee and Abe traveled to her home in rural Plant City, Florida. And it's there that prosecutors say she shoots him and leaves him until the next day.
The body's on property she owns. The murder happened in her house and with her gun. She admitted she bought the lime that was poured over the body of Abraham Shakespeare.
Prosecutors show video in court of Dee Dee going to Walmart to buy cleaning supplies.
She was purchasing bleach and like latex gloves and I think some shovels to help Mike Smith and Greg Smith dig this body out by hand and dispose of it.
Although Dee Dee has never faced formal charges alleging she stole Abe's money, prosecutors say it was greed that motivated her to kill him.
Centuria is Abraham's former girlfriend, and she tells jurors that Dee Dee told her that she was plotting to take his money.
She made it sound like she wanted to clean him out.
Why do you say that?
Because she wanted to know about all of his assets, and she was like, I can help you clean him out. It was just a level of disgust to just know that this is what such a caring and giving person endured.
But the prosecutor's star witness is Greg Smith, who takes the stand to deliver some of the most compelling and devastating testimony at the trial so far.
Greg Smith had been recruited by the sheriff's detectives to become her confidant, and the courtroom was just spellbound by his testimony.
I'm grown and don't have to come back.
When Greg Smith read the letter that Dee Dee Moore had composed in the motel room, jurors were on the edge of their seat.
I've been through a lot, Mom. You know it. You should understand more than anyone. I just need time.
The prosecution also asks Greg Smith about that supposed drug dealer who Dee Dee claimed was the one who actually murdered Abe.
I honestly don't know the guy's name. I know him by Ronald.
Did Miss Moore address who to blame if you got caught?
Yes, she was addressing the guy Ronald, the imaginary character that she made up.
Ronald is nothing but a fictional character, a character that she created out of her imagination.
The defense, such as it was primarily based on that old premise that the state's case was all circumstantial, that there was no hard evidence, there were no eyewitnesses.
The burden of proof is on the state. It's a very high burden of proof beyond any reasonable doubt.
Dee Dee's lawyer tells the jury there's plenty of reasonable doubt here and that there could be many other possible suspects.
That the drug dealers or killers saw fit to threaten her to keep her mouth shut, or else they would harm her and her son.
The defense argues that Greg Smith could actually have been the mastermind in Abe's murder.
If you study those tapes, most of the ideas about the fall guy, about where's the body, we've got to find the body, we've got to dig up the body and move it, all those things, if you read or listen to those tapes, it is Mr. Smith making those suggestions.
Gregory Smith has never been a suspect in this murder.
But Dee Dee's attorney insists she is innocent, that she's a victim, in fact, powerless against the deadly whims of others.
This is a desperate, panicked, perhaps emotionally unstable woman trying desperately to find an explanation that can salvage her life and her son's.
By the end of their case, the defense called 0 witnesses, and Dee Dee herself never testified on her behalf.
Tonight, after just 3 hours of deliberation, a jury handed down their verdict.
But no matter what the jury decides about her fate,
Bring the jury in.
Dee Dee's about to tell us exactly what she thinks about it.
They didn't get to hear my side. They didn't get to see my evidence. They didn't get to hear my witnesses.
Why didn't you take the stand then? After almost 2 weeks of this roller coaster murder trial, it's now up to the jury to decide Dee Dee's fate.
Bring the jury in. Tonight, after just 3 hours of deliberation, a jury handed down their verdict.
Juries do unpredictable things at times.
Is that indeed the jury's verdict?
It was probably 7 o'clock at night. A storm was coming in. Right as they read guilty on the first count,
The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
a clap of lightning happens outside and just kind of lights up the courtroom. It was kind of like, yeah, it was wild.
Abraham Shakespeare was your prey and your victim. Money was the root of the evil that you brought to Abraham.
The judge made a brief statement about how heinous her crime was and that he would be sentencing her to life in a Florida state prison without the possibility of parole.
I felt like he did get justice because even though his life was cut short, her life is just going to be long and miserable.
I won't forgive her. I don't forgive, and I never will.
Convicted murderers rarely talk while they still have appeals left, but then again, Dee Dee Moore is no ordinary murderer.
I'm not nervous. I don't get nervous.
Hi. After Dee Dee was sentenced to life in prison without parole in 2012, 2020 was granted an exclusive interview with Dee Dee here in her cell block's cafeteria. Upon arrival, we quickly learned that Dee Dee wasn't exactly camera shy.
Yeah, I've been on TV before.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah. You're a pro.
Let me show you this.
And this is fan mail. This is people...
I have more than fan mail. I have a movie producer doing a big TV screen production of my case.
Despite that jury taking less than 3 hours to convict her, Dee Dee vehemently maintains her innocence.
I think people are complete idiots that think I had anything to do with it. I really do.
When the guilty verdict was read, what went through your mind?
They murdered me by the hands of justice. I'm murdered. You might as well kill me, because this is no type of living in here. Because I would never harm another human being. I would never hurt nobody. I liked Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Disney. I like Tinkerbell and kind things. I'm not a mean person.
After a 2-week trial filled with damning audio and video evidence, I wondered if Dee Dee might finally come clean about what really happened to Abraham Shakespeare. Did you murder Abraham Shakespeare?
Absolutely not.
Did you bury him in your backyard?
Absolutely not.
Why are you laughing?
Because...
A man is dead. He's been murdered, clearly.
Yes.
And you're laughing.
Yeah. Because I find it entertaining that people are that ignorant. Because there are so many things that proves my innocence.
You ended up in his house with all the rest of his money. Then he ended up dead in your property.
Okay. But
shot by your gun. You don't find any of that unusual or odd?
Absolutely not, considering the people he hung around. I only knew this man for 4 months, and I'm just gonna, oh my goodness, I met this man, and you know what? I'm gonna plot a murder in 4 months.
Do you understand how listening to you is bewildering?
Well, do you understand how listening to you is just, it sounds like a bunch of stupidity?
So if Dee Dee's claims are so convincing, why didn't the jury buy it? Well, she blames it all on her own attorney.
About me. I personally would have convicted myself for what they got to hear, but they didn't get to hear my side. They didn't get to see my evidence. They didn't get to hear my witnesses.
Why didn't you take the stand then?
Because
you had every opportunity to defend yourself.
I wanted my witnesses to take the stand for me to take the stand. My lawyer says we didn't need it.
Your lawyer was that convinced you were going to win?
Yes.
But Dee Dee's lawyer, Byron Heilman, said the decision not to testify was Dee Dee's, and Dee Dee's alone.
We discussed with Ms. Moore whether she wished to testify. That discussion had gone on for quite some time, and she made the decision not to do that.
But since she claims her case was not properly presented in court, Dee Dee tries with us. People were trying to frame you.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because, first of all, I was an easy target.
A target, she claims, for drug dealers. Remember the story about Ronald, that so-called drug kingpin? Dee Dee claims the gang he allegedly had was out to kill her.
They were going to take my son and kill him and chop him up and put him on my doorstep.
Who?
These guys that the sheriff's department says didn't exist. That we have witnesses that they do exist.
You give so many different versions that it's absolutely bewildering. Why is that?
I'm threatened. They're making.
So you're lying to the police because you feel threatened?
No, I'm being told to do that. I'm being told to just keep throwing them off.
By
Ronald.
Dee Dee claims she has witnesses who will back up her version of events, but she wasn't eager to share those names with us. Can we talk to your witnesses? Who are they? you mind if we take down their names and maybe contact them?
I'd have to ask my lawyer, but I don't know if they'll...
These witnesses don't exist, and that certainly looks like your handwriting.
What do you mean
That looks like your handwriting. What you said were witnesses' notes looks like your handwriting.
No,
I don't
it's
think
not.
that these witnesses exist. If not, why
Ask
won't we
my
know?
lawyer.
Dee Dee says since she's appealing her conviction, she can't actually talk about them. And with that, our interview is over.
Robert, we need to go ahead and take her now.
Okay, thank you. Well, it was nice meeting you.
You too. Dee Dee may not have been willing to share her evidence of supposed witnesses with us, but she's going to get a chance to present her claims in court.
Is going to be back in court today. Dee Dee Moore will try to convince a judge to give her a retrial.
Will it be enough to get her murder conviction overturned? After years of filing motions to appeal her conviction, in July of 2023, Dee Dee finally gets another day in court.
Dee Dee Moore is back in a Tampa courtroom demanding a new trial.
Dee Dee tells the judge that she was framed by investigators who were paid off by those drug dealers that she alleged were doing business with Abraham Shakespeare.
They're being paid under the table because cocaine dealers can afford a lot.
The investigators denied Dee Dee's allegations.
I have never heard of anything of this corrupt drug network involving Abraham Shakespeare or corruption within either of our departments.
It's absurd. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
The judge denied Dee Dee's request for a new trial. But that wasn't the last time we heard from Dee Dee. More than 12 years after we first talked in Florida, we spoke to Dee Dee again on a call for prison. Tell me, how are you?
I'm fine. I've been working on my case, and I've got my appeals out, so I'm waiting patiently.
How long have you been incarcerated in jail and in prison at this point?
14 years.
You still do not admit that you murdered Abe Shakespeare?
Absolutely not. I didn't.
14 years is a lot of time to think. Do you ever go back and think about Abe, about Abraham Shakespeare?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was wrong. There was no reason for him to pass away over money. But for them to lie in public and say that it took his money, the whole situation was so stupid.
You murdered him and you've taken zero responsibility. And you're saying, like, in past tense, that it's so sad he had to pass away. Abraham Shakespeare did not pass away. Abraham Shakespeare was shot at close range.
Everything they said in jury trials was not true.
I thought that you might,
Remorse?
more than a decade after our interview, have some remorse, some reflection about what had happened. That maybe there was a little bit of softness in your heart about Abraham and about your responsibility here.
There is plenty of softness in my heart.
She is still as adamant as she ever was that she was framed, that Abraham Shakespeare was murdered by someone else. She denies taking Abe's money. She denies doing anything wrong. Abraham Shakespeare not only lost his fortune and his life, he lost the chance to see his children grow up.
Everyone, thank you for coming to
The funeral was very emotional. It was a celebration of his life, but it was also very sad to learn that he was killed for his money. Was just something that everybody could not understand.
He was a kind-hearted person who genuinely wanted to help people. He helped tons of people in this city. He kept people from going into foreclosure. He paid light bills, phone bills. He honestly did that.
Imagine just spending your last $4, which is what Abraham Shakespeare did on those lottery tickets, putting your last money on a far-fetched dream. Abraham did a lot of good with some of his winnings. The favor wasn't returned to him.
He was a wonderful man.
Yeah, that's right.
He will be sorely missed.
I'll never forget, after they found him, I remember having a dream And I remember in the dream telling Abraham, oh good, you can come with me now. And he kept saying, no, no, you'll be okay. That was enough for me to believe that I'll be okay. I really miss him today. I really just need to hear his voice today. I just want him, like, bring him back.
Remembering Abraham with a broken heart and missing him, Centauria is now a traveling nurse.
And we should note that Jeremiah, their son, he is now 16 years old. That's our program for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm David Muir.
And I'm Deborah Roberts. From all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, good night.
Tonight here, the stunning new legal twist as a witness admits he lied on the stand in a grisly kidnapping case.
For the first time tonight, you're going to see a startling tape. Could it free a man who's now behind bars? 2020 begins right now.
Somebody has my daughter. They have kidnapped her. Please get everybody in the community out there.
Everybody trying to say, it's okay, Karen, this is all just a mistake. But see, they didn't know what I knew that morning.
Nursing student Holly Bobo, last seen being dragged away from her home by a man in camouflage.
She said, stop, 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 leave me alone, stop. But she never called out his name.
Just hours after Holly Bobo disappeared, more than 400 people turned up here to search these woods. No, Holly. This is the Tennessee River. On its western bank is Decatur County, a patchwork of sparsely populated farms, dense woods, and neighbors who look out for each other.
It's a rural county with a cute little small town, Parsons. Very close to the Tennessee River.
A lot of cattle farming and crop farming.
Hunting, fishing, boating.
People that like to live out in the country, they have some animals or some horses.
There's not a lot of industry in Decatur County.
I started to say it might be compared to Mayberry, but it's nothing like that. We do have crime just like every other town in America, but we are rural. Everybody pretty much knows everybody. Everybody knew Holly and her family.
20-year-old Holly Bobo came from a loving family. She lived with her mother, Karen, father, Dana, and her older brother, 25-year-old Clint, in a home her dad built with his own hands.
It was your typical little single story, 3 bedrooms, kitchen was in the middle kind of, and then a little small living room. And they had a carport there, which is a 2-car carport to the back of the house.
They're typical middle-class, hard-working country folks. Holly's dad, he had an excavating business, and her mother was a school teacher.
Holly and I were very close, and we were about 5 years apart.
Holly was raised like my little sister, and Clint was like my little brother. We were always growing up together.
We just lived in our own world, 2 kids in college. We had our church family, our family gatherings, went to the movies together, rode 4-wheelers together, rode horses.
The Bobo kids grew up with a sense of caring for their community. Clint is studying to become a social worker, and Holly is attending nursing school.
They're the best people on earth. That's what hurt so bad, that this happened to them. They didn't do anything that would have put them in harm's way of having this to happen. It just doesn't happen to people like them.
It was just a normal morning like anything else. Dana gets up first and gets ready.
Well, I usually go out and feed the dogs.
Dana says Holly is already up, studying for a big test later that day.
I asked her if she needed any money, I think, for gas or whatever that day. She said, yeah, and I left her some money on the bar. I left out my regular time, 5:30 or something like that, and went on to work.
Karen wakes up a short time later.
So I went on about my business, getting ready.
We'll come to this small town, all asking the same question. Where is Holly Bobo? A quiet spring morning in the country interrupted by a scream. Then, a deafening silence. 20-year-old Holly Bobo vanished from her own backyard, and her family is in anguish.
Holly was an absolute joy from the day she was born. It just seemed like there was something special about her. She was always kind to people and appreciated the small things in life.
Holly's mother says she shares a special bond with her only daughter.
We could finish each other's sentences. We enjoyed doing the same things, riding horses, listening to the radio.
Holly's cousin, country singer Whitney Duncan, says music has always been a passion for Holly.
We had singing in common for sure, and she had a beautiful voice. Peace in the Valley was her favorite gospel song. I have that clip and go back and watch it.
Following graduation from high school, Holly has her eye on the future, studying hard to become a nurse.
Holly and I ended up in the same nursing class in Parsons, and so I really got to know her. She was very committed to the program. You could just tell. She studied continuously. On the day that she went missing, we got to class, and we're supposed to take a test the first thing. The instructor went out and came back, and she announced that something terrible had happened. I'm sorry. And so we immediately dispersed, went to the area, started searching.
When tragedy strikes, Decatur County comes together. On April 13, 2011, just hours after Holly Bobo disappeared, more than 400 people turned up here to search these woods, trying to help find any clue as to what happened to the 20-year-old nursing student.
The search response was
referred to them as the A train. They were known for getting in trouble.
In the investigation, they were brought up early and often by people that know that they're into drugs. Zach would tell people, you're gonna end up in a hole just like Holly. Comments everywhere that normal people would not make.
And in the early days of the investigation, Holly's mother, Karen, thought these guys could know something, given what they had been heard saying around town. So she tracked them down herself.
I asked them, did they know anything about our daughter's abduction? Of course, they all denied it.
She was kind of doing her own investigation. I mean, she came here and asked to talk to Shane.
I guess I would have fought Goliath. You know, I just had no fear. I was trying to find my daughter.
And at the time of Holly's abduction, witnesses tell investigators that before she went missing, Shane Austin crossed paths with her at a local raccoon hunting festival.
The story was that Shane had seen Holly Bobo at the coon hunt, and that he'd kind of followed her around like a stalker.
Did you hear anything about that?
I guess we heard that rumor. We heard that he was trying to take a picture of her and pretending like he was talking on the phone. But now Shane only had a flip phone, so I don't think you could hold that flip phone up to your head and take a picture of somebody, but that's what we heard.
Investigators followed up on this story. Within a week of Holly's disappearance, they showed up at the Austins' property wanting to speak with Shane.
They come and brought the dogs and come down and search Shane's trailer, and that was the start of it.
Throughout their investigation, authorities say they never found evidence at the Austins' property that connected him to Holly Bobo.
Were you surprised that they were down there?
Yes. I mean, I know Shane had drug issues, and that's what I told the TBI guy when he come to the gate down there. I said, hey, I said, if she'd been made of morphine, I'd said you come to the right place, but no way.
And then, 2 years later, with those new agents on the case, authorities zeroed back in on the Adams brothers, Jason Autry and Shane Austin.
At what point did you realize that he might be in trouble with all of this?
When they come back at 6 o'clock in the morning and tooting the horn, so we went down and opened the gate and let them in, and they said, we're down here to get this over with, so we want Shane.
That's when they wanted to know where the body was at. The TBI met with Shane and they got that immunity deal.
Investigators offered Shane immunity to cooperate and tell them what he knew about his friend's involvement in Holly Bobo's abduction.
You take an immunity deal, hey, you've done something. You've done something. But the lawyer said, if you don't do it, they're going to arrest him. They've done told me they're going to arrest him. And he said, it's going to cost thousands of dollars. So us three, we talked and we agreed. And
we talked hard.
We talked hard.
We talked hard. If you got any part of this, you better be telling it.
Shane Austin had nothing at all to do with this.
So Shane Austin takes the deal, but when he sits down with investigators, they're disappointed.
They was very unhappy because he didn't know where the body was at.
According to authorities, all he can tell them is that he too has heard Zach Adams make incriminating comments about what happened to Holly.
There was talk that Zach had blurted out, I'm gonna do you like I did to Holly.
But Shane also said that he didn't believe that Zach was telling the truth. He thought that Zach was just boasting.
But investigators believe Shane knows more than he's telling, and they revoke that immunity deal.
I was scared for my son. If the TBI wasn't here, they was calling him, harassing him. So we didn't have any peace.
I don't know if it was them calling him or whatever, but anyway, his drug use just escalated, and that's from that, so. And Christmas was the last time we seen him.
Shane's parents say his life continued to spiral, and in 2015, he died by suicide.
Shane opened that door to addiction. They just grabbed him and pulled him in, and this time it pulled him in for real. Wasn't gonna let him go.
Authorities have lost one cooperating witness, but they're about to get a new one.
That's true. You ain't gonna be scared of nobody now. There ain't no reason to be scared of nobody.
Could what he has to say finally explain what happened to Holly Bobo? More than 2 years after Holly Bobo disappeared, investigators are still searching for answers. Rumors about 4 local small-time criminals, Zach Adams, his brother Dylan Adams, Jason Autry, and Shane Austin, have failed to lead to any hard evidence. But in 2014, investigators catch a break when Dylan Adams is arrested on unrelated gun charges. The Decatur County Sheriff's Office receives a shocking phone call. The caller is Dennis Benjamin, telling them that Dylan Adams, still in his custody, has just confessed to taking part in the kidnapping and murder of Holly Bobo.
You'll have your seat right there if you don't mind.
Dylan Adams is brought in to speak with TBI agents, and through halting one-word answers, he tells them that he, Zach Adams, Jason Autry, and Shane Austin committed the crime together.
You came forward to Dennis and told him some things that are above and beyond what you've ever told me or Brent about this case, right? Yes, sir. Okay. Describe What was she doing? What did she look like? What was she wearing?
She had long pants on, pink shirt, same that. Remember that?
Okay.
Dylan says that all 4 men sexually assaulted Holly at Zach's house.
And now you're saying that Shane Austin is sitting there. You're sitting there. Jason Autry is sitting there. And Zach. Is there anybody else involved? Was Holly Bobo kidnapped? Was she raped? Raped by you?
I just see someone being bullied into saying something they didn't do. I think that he was just trying to get through it.
You withheld information. That ain't how this works.
He was in a federal holding facility for almost 2 years. The TBI agents there pounded him, and he never, ever once said, I raped Holly. And then he's moved to this Dennis Benjamin's house, and suddenly he's raped Holly.
We attempted to contact Dennis Benjamin, but we were unable to reach him.
She was shot in the back of the head. How did that happen?
How much blood was on the floor?
What was ever done to clean that up?
As far as I know, just the grass. After I don't know.
Armed with Dylan's confession and a search warrant, investigators go to Zach Adams' house looking for any physical evidence to corroborate his story.
They come to the door there and asked me, said, you want to unlock it or you want us to tear the door down? And they knocked a hole in it to see what was back there, I reckon. Tore the fan down as they was tearing the floor out. They used my pick and things to tear this out with, but they cut it out with a saw.
And the story, he was raping her and attacking her in the house. Well, they pulled up floorboards, they DNA tested all the couch and the bed and everything, never found it, nothing.
We reached out to the TBI and they declined to answer specific questions about this case.
In my heart of hearts, I know my boys, they're drug addicts. They're not murderers.
But despite a lack of evidence, authorities believe that's exactly what they are. Zach Adams, Jason Autry, and Dylan Adams are eventually all indicted for murder.
Decatur County Grand Jury handed down indictment of especially aggravated kidnapping and first-degree felony murder.
With all 3 heading to trial, the state announces that it will seek the death penalty, and Jason Autry proclaims his innocence.
Because we're here.
No. He did not murder Holly Lynn Bobo. He did not kidnap Holly Lynn Bobo. He did not abduct Holly Lynn Bobo. He did not rape Holly. And do you remember?
Karen Bobo knew the man, now accused of killing her daughter when he was just a boy.
Did you know Zach Adams?
I had Zach in the 4th grade. I was his 4th grade school teacher.
The very first day, you have Holly's mother basically fall out on the stand during her testimony.
Take just a minute, I'm feeling sick.
Let's take the recess. I want everyone to remain with me while the jury files out, please. Oh, got a nurse.
Holly's father also testifies. What day did you give up hope for the very first time?
And about 3 years into it, give or take, the TBI come to our house, told us that was Holly. Holly had been found. That was her remains.
I'm going to ask you to look at this picture. You recognize it?
Prosecutors produced the alleged murder weapon. It's a .32 caliber revolver witnesses claim was owned by Zach Adams' friend, Shane Austin, and it was recovered in a drainage ditch just months before the trial.
We located a metal object that was later identified as a revolver.
A parade of no fewer than 9 witnesses testify that over the years, Adams, often while on drugs or in jail, made incriminating statements.
The prosecution and defense each call a cell phone expert. Both agree Adams and the other suspects' phones did not hit cell towers near the Bobo home at the time Holly was taken.
At the time of this abduction, do we have any idea where Zach Adams' phone is, where Shane Austin's phone is, where Dylan's Adams' phone is, or where Jason Autry's phone is?
No.
The prosecution expert says it's possible Holly and Zach Adams' phones were in the same general locations later that morning, but the defense expert disagrees.
In very general terms, the devices were not together at the same location at the same time during that morning.
Did you kill Holly Bobo?
Absolutely not.
Why do you think you guys became suspects in this case?
We didn't have a hard alibi, and we was local, drug users and stuff, and would it matter putting us away? I felt like they had to arrest somebody, even if it was the wrong person, which it was.
As the trial continues, astonishing testimony. A witness you might think would be the last person to believe Adams is innocent.
I looked at Zach personally a total of 2 or 3 times. Whenever the last one was over with, I stopped looking at him.
And a stunning courtroom appearance. That former suspect with a theory of what Holly's killer was thinking.
You gotta hide it, and if you kill it, what you gonna do with it?
Terry Britt, the man investigators say they cleared, is about to take the stand.
All right, we're ready to continue. Defense ready to proceed? Yes, state ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
All right, call your next.
Terry Dicus.
I don't think they're capable of kidnapping a woman and keeping it secret for 2 years. I don't think they're capable of that. I don't think they're capable of doing arithmetic, much less this.
In August of 2012, Terry Dicus had a new supervisor come in, and that supervisor looked at the leads and looked at the way that Terry Dicus was doing that investigation.
Case agent on the case needed to be benched.
Why was he benched?
In my opinion, based on statements he made as well as statements other agents made to me, he had lost his objectivity. He had tunnel vision on a particular suspect and was not objective about all of the facts coming into the case.
I've weighed the information that I had at the time, and I believe I'm objective.
To have the lead case agent who was removed from the case to take the stand and still saying during a murder trial that he still doesn't think that Zach Adams is guilty of this, that's something that's very hard to hear.
Dicus admits he does not know what evidence investigators gathered against Zach Adams and the others after he left.
But you can't tell us anything about the 3 and 4 years after that.
You're right. I don't know what y'all have done since then.
In a murder trial, it's usually the prosecutors pointing fingers, but in this case, the defense attorneys took a turn. They argue Zach Adams is the wrong guy. Somebody else kidnapped and murdered Holly Bobo. That guy, Terry Britt. And you don't have to go far to find him. He's sitting right up there on the witness stand.
Terry Britt, T-E-R-Y-B-R-I-T-T.
Terry Britt was a registered sex offender who lived fairly close to the Bobo home. He lived also very, very close to where some of her property was found later on during the search.
It did, and it matched what the prosecutors had also.
My cross-examination of Autry was everything. I mean, it was really important.
The defense attorney points out at the time Autry says the murder happened, he was on phone calls with his girlfriend and also his mother.
In the middle of all this, you were able to take a telephone call from your mother, Shirley King, that morning at 9:42, weren't you?
If your records reflect that, that's true.
Autry also mentions a burn barrel at Shane Austin's house.
55-gallon barrel with all the paint off of it, with flames shooting at the top of it, 3 to 4 foot high.
Shane's mother says there was no burn barrel.
Shane didn't have a burn barrel at his trailer.
Shane's mother also says Jason Autry was wrong about a fence at Shane's trailer.
The gate was open.
No, the driveway did not have a gate at that time. We did put a gate and a fence up, and it was June of 2011 after we bought Shane a puppy.
The prosecution basically adopted Jason Autry's story of what happened, but they left huge gaps in their prosecution, and they don't explain who it was that came and abducted Holly. They don't explain how her body got at that cell tower.
Prosecutors argued at trial that Shane Austin could have been the one who took Holly.
Jason Autry is the best evidence that these prosecutors have in this case because they have very little physical evidence. They're banking on the jury completely, wholeheartedly buying his account.
Inside this courthouse, the jury is about to deliver a verdict. It could be a life or death decision for Zach Adams. Either way, it won't be the end of it. Years later, a new investigation, another courtroom battle, and prison interviews. What Zach Adams and Jason Autry say now.
Prosecuted. In my opinion, all three of them should be hanging in this big oak tree on the backside of this courthouse.
From his prison cell, Zach Adams has tried and failed over the years to have his conviction overturned. Now, he is trying again.
You hear people say that they're innocent all the time in jail, in prison.
Yeah.
So people are skeptical. What do you say to those people?
He said the person was what, 5'9", 200 pounds? It wasn't Jason Autry. He's 6'6". Could have been me. I was 6'3", 125 pounds. My brother's 6'2", 125 pounds. The person that abducted her wasn't one of us. I mean, he didn't match the description of any of us.
A flurry of legal filings beginning January 2024 lay out why Zach Adams says he deserves a new trial and why prosecutors say he does not.
April 2024, a hearing at the Hardin County Courthouse.
The court's going to order that the temporary order placing these exhibits under seal is to remain in effect.
Adams' new attorney is there and some familiar faces, trial prosecutor Jennifer Nichols and the Bobos. Zach Adams is searching for new evidence, new witnesses. He's being helped by Katie Spurko. She's a neuropsychologist and she's been re-examining the case against him.
How did you end up involved in this case?
The attorney who's representing Zach Adams, Doug Bates, is an attorney I've worked with before.
What was he looking for you to do?
He wanted me to review the case file, watch the testimony, and see if there were things that stood out to me in terms of whether someone was being honest or not.
Spurko says she is now working for Zach Adams' mother instead of his attorney.
As psychologists, we are trained on how to interview people to elicit accurate information.
Spurko provided 2020 with interviews she recorded during her investigation.
I want to know everything about you. I want to be able to look into your soul and know every single thing about you. I wanted to get a sense for what he was like, because he didn't testify. And I remember the first thing he asked me was if I thought he was innocent. And I said I didn't know yet.
Do you now think he's innocent?
I am so confident he's innocent.
Hi, my name's Katie, and I'm so sorry to come here unannounced. I had your address and I didn't have your phone number.
Spurko looked for more information about former suspect Terry Britt, who was later cleared by the TBI. She went to see his wife, Janet, who still stands by her husband.
There was some evidence that came up with Terry regarding the Holly Bobo situation.
I don't see how, because he didn't have nothing to do with it. There's no way he could have went and kidnapped her. He was here with me. Just because he has a record, that doesn't mean he had anything to do with it.
Some of Katie Spurko's investigating has provoked a reaction from the prosecutor. In a court filing that includes an affidavit from Janet Britt, the prosecutor accuses Spurko of trying to intimidate Britt and of offering to show her confidential discovery files.
Spurko denies she tried to intimidate Britt and says the only files she offered to share were public records of Terry Britt's criminal history. Zach Adams' court filings also say Spurko found a witness who claims she saw Terry Britt behaving oddly the morning Holly was taken.
She said he was in a smaller truck and was kind of leaning over, had made eye contact with her and was leaning over, adjusting his body to block her view of his passenger seat.
Prosecutors say Adams's attorney and Spurko have not gotten a sworn statement from that witness, which they say the law requires before it can be considered.
Still ahead, the effort to free Zach Adams brings Katie Spurko face to face with the person who helped send him to prison.
He said, somebody's got to pay, Jason. He said that he's going to be you. Hell no, I ain't paying.
Forensic neuropsychologist Katie Spurko, now working for Zach Adams' family, has spent nearly a year studying his case file, watching the trial testimony, tracking down and interviewing witnesses. But the person she most wanted to talk to was the man many say sealed Adams' fate, Jason Autry. So what does this mean for Zach Adams? Is there a chance Jason Autry's new story could set him free?
A request for a new trial for a man convicted in the 2011 murder of a Holly Bobo.
I mean, so I'm in here for something I didn't do, so I'm hopeful.
This case is a tragedy. There was never a day in that courtroom that I didn't feel for Karen Bobo.
And you have shown absolutely, look at me please, you have shown absolutely no remorse for anything that you have done.
At sentencing, Holly Bobo's mother, there was that very dramatic moment where she wanted to speak to you and look you face to face, eye to eye.
Well, she felt like she was talking to the person that took her daughter's life, but she don't realize that I'm not that person. They're the real victims of all this, but they didn't know that we didn't have anything to do with it. And if I knew anything, I would have helped any way I could have.
Before this happened to Holly, we lived in what we thought was one of the safest communities. The day that Holly was abducted, not only was something taken from us, it was taken from our whole county, community, and the surrounding counties.
The goal was to get justice for Holly, and I feel like that happened. And obviously it didn't bring her back. There will still be sad, but there is a little peace in knowing that the people that did this to her will be in jail.
But now there are questions about whether one of those people, Zach Adams, will remain behind bars.
A request for a new trial for a man convicted in the 2011 murder of a Holly Bobo.
Zach Adams' team will now need to convince a judge that Jason Autry's new story amounts to new evidence that would have changed the jury's verdict.
Jason Autry recanted his testimony, and that would give Adams an alibi for Bobo's murder.
We reached out to Jennifer Nichols, the prosecutor in this case. She declined our request for an interview, but sent us a statement that says in part, "At trial, we presented proof through 62 witnesses and 250 exhibits. The jurors heard testimony of Zachary Adams' confessions to multiple and unrelated individuals. Today, nearly 8 years after the verdicts, I remain confident in the jury's verdicts of Zachary Adams' guilt."
We understood, when the trial and sentence and everything took place, that there'd be a number of events down through the years. We're going to be patient because we still are seeking justice for our beloved Holly.
Holly was always about helping someone. Whatever Holly did, she put forth her best effort. And it was just in her soul to be that kind, loving, nurturing person.
It's been more than 13 years since Holly's passing, and her legacy still remains. A stretch of Tennessee highway has been dedicated in her honor. And Holly's cousin, country singer Whitney Duncan, recorded a song to honor Holly.
I wanted to convey a message of she's not hurting anymore. You know, she is in a better place. But I know she's watching down and she sees everything. And she is happy.
After Holly's death, the Bobo family established a scholarship in her name for other nursing students.
As for Zach Adams, a hearing is scheduled next month when a judge is going to consider some of his legal filings. That's our program for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir. From all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, good night.
All right, guys, thank you very much for coming today. I have called you for a very special thing. We have an event day after tomorrow, and Khushi, you will make the necessary arrangements. Khushi.
Yeah, sure, sir.
You seem a bit off today.
Everything is good, sir. Don't worry, I will do.
All right, I am counting on you. All the very best.
ਕੱਲ ਰਾਤੀ ਰੋਈਆਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਏ ਤੂੰ ਵੀ ਰੋਇਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਚ ਲੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਤੇਰੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਚ ਅੜੇ ਤੂੰ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਾਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਖਰੇ ਦੇ ਦਿਖਾਵੇਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਨਾ ਸਤਾਇਆ ਕਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਾਨ ਨਿਕਲ ਨਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਦ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਬੋਲਾਂ ਨਾਮ ਬੁਲਾਤੇ ਆਵੇ ਨਾ 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 ਪੁੱਛਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸੱਚ ਸੱਚ ਦੱਸੀ ਵੇ ਇੱਕ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਗੱਲ ਵੇ ਤੂੰ ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖੀ ਵੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਵੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਵੇ ਸੁਣ ਮੇਰੀ ਸੁਣ ਲੈ ਯਾਰ ਵੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਏ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਲੜਦਾ ਏ ਜਦ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਸੜਦਾ ਏ ਰਾਜ ਤੂੰ ਹਰ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੋਏ ਰਾਜ ਤੂੰ ਹਰ ਵਾਰੀ ਲਾਵੇਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਨਾ ਸਤਾਇਆ ਕਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਾਨ ਨਿਕਲ ਨਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਦ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਬੋਲਾਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਬੁਲਾਤੇ ਆਵੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਦਿਨ ਬਿਜ਼ੀ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਏ ਤੂੰ ਯਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਹਿਣਾ ਏ ਤੇਰੀ ਦੂਰੀ ਤੇ ਮਜਬੂਰੀ ਦਿਲ ਮੇਰਾ ਏ ਸਹਿੰਦਾ ਏ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਨਾ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਦੀ ਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਦੇ ਮਨਾਉਂਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਰੁੱਸਦੀ ਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੰਗਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਏ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਸਿਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਤੂੰ ਖਾਵੇਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਨਾ ਸਤਾਇਆ ਕਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਾਨ ਨਿਕਲ ਨਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਜਦ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਬੋਲਾਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਨਾਮ ਬੁਲਾਤੇ ਆਵੇ
तो अभी आपने हमारा दुनिया सॉन्ग देखा, सो प्लीज कमेंट करके बताना कि आपको सॉन्ग कैसा लगा।
एंड हाँ, वीडियो को लाइक करना, जाने से पहले रिपल म्यूजिक स्टूडियोज के चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर लेना। थैंक यू, बाय बाय एवरीवन।